What's up, everybody, and welcome back into the Play the Fights on College Football show. Another week of college football on deck, and as on paper, it may not look like a good one, but that's when the college football matchups that you replay over and over again happen. So that's just how the sport works. So we're pumped to be back and preview week 3 tonight. Week 2 is in the books. A lot of stuff happened, and one of the things that happened is in rivalry, last-second field goal to take a win. JP, get what I'm referring to?
Yeah, I heard Jacob's response to my reaction video, and I understand being butthurt, but that was recorded 15 minutes after that kick went through, and Jacob goes, we just don't want to give him credit. I mean, whenever we win, we just don't get the credit. It's our fault we lost. Jacob, you can't go back and watch that game and be like, that game wasn't given away. There's the billion things that Iowa never does that all happened. Like, yeah, you got better in the second half, but just to be like, well, they don't ever give us credit, and it's never when we win, they never say we earned it. And like, it was like, Jake, I get it, I understand. So like, why couldn't you just take the win? You had to go to my level. My level. No, you're like, we never.
I took the win. I didn't say anything to anybody until Sunday. And of course, I just like, JP's got to go and say, we've got an 8th grader playing quarterback. We've got 170-pound cross-country runners playing defensive line.
I didn't say any of that. I didn't say any of that.
So basically,
every time I said something, you were there.
Sally ass.
Yeah.
Equal, right?
How about him referring at the end after, honestly, it wasn't a great weekend for the Big 12. Iowa State probably looked at like one of the better teams. And at the end, he's like, this team's nothing great. They're probably winning 6 games, 7 games, the Big 12.
Said 7 or 8. But
he did say 7 or 8.
He did 7 or 8. The conference isn't that great, and you're known for eating each other alive. How is 7 or 8 not reasonable? You never won 10.
I know we've never won 10.
Fair point.
I mean, I just made points, and it was 15 minutes after kick, and it like instant reaction, and the guy got upset. It's like, you know what? Like, I get it. Now it's 2 of 3. The conversation is no longer 7 of 8. It's now 2 of 3. Which is a bigger deal than the 7 of 8.
I might have been upset, but I promise you I wasn't as upset as Jordan in that video. That's
yeah, that is 100% certain. And also, I think
it never happened.
Oh, hey. Also, let's not forget he referred to Iowa State as Dort. So
yeah, that's what I was just about to say.
I'm not sliding that under the rug.
Hunter Deckers.
I said University caught a stray in the middle of that.
Looked like Dort in the first half, and then we made him look like Alabama in the second. That both true. More things can be true than just one, Jacob. It's crazy. Socrates.
I think the old Iowa habits kind of killed them there. Like Jay Higgins got that pick on the inside of the 10-yard line, and they get a field goal out of it. Like, that's the stuff that you brought Tim Lester in to fix.
8 plays within the 5-yard line, 3 or 6 points is, and then just sitting on the ball second half. It's like, it's just stuff we do. It's just stuff we do,
Oh, yeah, obviously we got Dylan in here telling you to go clones as well. So hopefully that's
I have no room to stand on anymore. The conversation's no longer 7 of 8; it's 2 of 3, and 2 of 3 speaks more volumes than 7 of 8. I feel like 2 of 3.
Yeah, but I feel like with that argument too, you look at Michigan the last 3 years too. But it's like look at the track record of Ohio State, Michigan. Like, I'm not saying this is that, but it's like, look at the longevity of it. Like, there's a little blip right here. Like, you still have won, 8 of the last 11?
Yeah, but I'm saying 2 of 3 is going to become
Ohio
a story.
State. This is Ohio State, Michigan. Sounds like we got a couple more left in the chamber.
Is that what this battle is now? The Cyhawk is now the game?
That's what I'm saying. If you're going to have a little blip in it, though, it's like, look at the history of the past 20 years. Like, Michigan hadn't won since 1999. They just won 3 in a row. So it's like, cool, good for you. But, like, look at the history of it.
This is a good question. This is a good question. I also would like to know, Jordan.
I don't know if he needs to go, but something's got to go. Something's got to change in his head. Like, it can't be play not to lose the whole year. Like, he's got to start seeing that you're playing on a national stage now. We can't just play for Big Ten West titles. We're never going to win anything if that's the way we continue to play football throughout forever, it seems like. So something's got to change in his head.
What about my question on the show? Would that be the first head coach to get a statue built in his honor the same year he was fired? Is that?
I don't know if Beth will ever fire him, but I mean, probably.
That's fair. That's a fair point. I think they should maybe, even if it goes that way, it would be a resignation.
I could see him like senior day, Nebraska at home, and they unveil some shit, or like the year after,
Yeah, especially if that Nebraska game holds water a little bit this year, more than it has, and he wins that one kind of be,
this, but just gross. Fucking hurt.
But all right, that is Iowa and Iowa State. We finally got to hear a little bit from a live JP. Reese, we haven't talked to you yet. You've got to chime in. What are you doing? You ready to preview week 3? I love that cap you got on.
Yeah, no, it's a great hat. Shout out Schaefer. Shout out our partner at No Rivals, some great espresso hats.
I may or may not have a North Texas game day collection on the way. Little preview, but I will be rocking that. Hopefully have it in time for this weekend. I doubt it, though. But shout out to our partners at No Rivals. Quickly, if you're a first-time listener, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. This is College Football Heaven. We're going to cover everything from G5 to Power 4, previews, recaps, everything in between, so you're in the right spot. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for all your college football wants and needs. And shout out to No Rivals. Use the code PTFS on their website for free shipping. Great partner, great hats, unique designs. Check them out today at shopnorivals.com. All right, with that being said, Jake, you haven't gotten your 2 cents either. Are we ready to preview week 3? Is there one game that we're going to talk about tonight that kind of stands out to you against the rest of the weekend? It's a lighter slate.
It's okay. I don't think it's a light slate. I think there's some underrated games in there. Look at last week. I think we highlighted a lot of good games, but then there were games that we didn't talk about enough that were just plain out better. Like the Tennessee-NC State game was a dud, but we knew Tennessee was going to roll. Knew Texas was going to roll, but Notre Dame, Northern Illinois ended up being really good. There's just a bunch of others in between.
People call it a dud because the brands that are playing aren't the same brands people like tune in to watch. But Backyard Brawl, big deal, right?
Yes.
You get to watch. I know Arizona, Kansas State's not a conference game, but like you get to watch these two teams interact within the Big 12 for the first time. You get to see Oklahoma try to fix things. You get to see two teams that people were touchy on. Maybe they get a ton better than the Big 12 and UCF TCU. So it's just the brands, and people want to see the top 10. They want to see an Alabama with something big. They want to see Georgia with somebody big on the schedule. It's just not how, if you're paying attention to the sport as a whole, which we do, the slate's not bad at all. It's just a different kind of slate. It's not marquee matchups you come off from last week. It's, we're learning about teams more than ever. And I feel like this is your last week to do that before conference slates start for most teams.
And like I said in the opener, sometimes these are the weeks where you feel like it's a lighter slate. Maybe you don't have that one marquee game that the casuals get involved. That's kind of where you find maybe Tulane goes on the road and takes down Oklahoma, because we saw a lot from that team last week. Hopefully I'm not diving too far into that game. But let's just go into week 3 previews. Week 2 was a great week. Hopefully week 3 brings us more memorable moments from this sport. Let's open it up with the Friday night game that you already mentioned, JP, Arizona and K-State. This one is at Bill Snyder Family Stadium in Manhattan. This is the Fox Friday college football kickoff, really, that you're going to see their branding. Yes. So this will be an interesting one viewing-wise. I'm sure it'll be very similar to Big Noon kickoff, so it's going to be a great presentation. K-State is a 7-point favorite. I'll go to Jake first to break this one down.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because obviously this doesn't count for a Big 12 game, but both teams, I think, have a lot to prove in this one to, I guess, show how they fare against some of the top teams in this conference. I mean, K-State's been your co-favorite to win this league, and Arizona's been, looming in that 7-8 range. So I think it's just a really interesting matchup. Both teams coming off of disappointing weeks, I'd say. Arizona might be more disappointing because just offense was a complete dud, going 0 for 10 on third downs against Northern Arizona, scoring 22 points. K-State, some would say you should have lost that football game, but you were the one who capitalized on the turnover. So it is what it is. You got the win. I asked the question does this game mean more to Arizona for momentum heading into the Big 12 than for K-State? Is it K-State's job to prove that they're one of the top teams in this conference, or is it more so like Arizona, you're the new team in town, you've got these two at quarterback and receiver who are top in the country? got to go improve on the road that you can hang with the big boys.
Ooh, I think a lot of people want to know Arizona is for real yet.
Yeah.
I still think the McMillan Fafita thing is still under the radar, like on the national scale, outside of like a couple, outlets that get a hold of Ted Roa's week 1. But people know Avery Johnson, they know Giddens, they know Kansas State and the brand and what they were expected to do in a new Big 12. But to me, like, this being a non-conference game is like, it has I don't think it will get looked at as hard in the future, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like in week 10, and let's just say both these teams have one Big 12 loss. Like, are you going to look back at this game and be like, wow, but they got him there? I don't know. I feel like it's going to lose some steam with just being the way that it's set up this early in a non-con. But if you're Arizona, I mean, you can't go in there and get beat bad. Like, you got to hold your own on defensively. You can't get the ball run all over you, because we know that was something that they struggled with last year at times. Like, they bow up and then all of a sudden they get beat pretty bad on the defensive side of the ball. And this is a team that can do that on the ground.
Yeah,
that's what the Big 12 is going to do this year, it feels like, for a lot of guys, majority of the teams at least.
It kind of strikes me as a more important game for K-State, just in the fact that you're picked high within the conference. You have an opportunity in what feels like it's wide open within that conference schedule, this not being one, but it's definitely feels like one for the fans. And to get that fan base bought in, like, okay, this team could really do it. This is a top 25 team coming in here to have a rocking atmosphere, kind of get things started off on the right foot. Whether or not it counts towards their conference schedule, it definitely is more of a buy-in factor for both, I'm sure, the players and the fans, in my opinion. Reese, your thoughts on this game and Jake's question?
I think it means more to K-State if I was going to lean away. I mean, K-State, you go against Tulane last week, you have Mensa, you got Hughes, and Mario Williams. Like, that's a solid Tulane team that you're playing. And you find a way to, be resilient and win that ball game. So I think that shows that they have faith in each other, that, even when you're down, you find a way to win a ball game. But it's also, I just think this team has more expectations going into them. Like, there's a reason why a lot of people are high on them and expecting them in the Big 12. Like, it's games like this where you have to be able to go out and win this ball game. You saw the struggles that Arizona had last week. Like, it's still early in the year. I keep saying, just make observations, don't over exaggerate stuff. And Arizona had some things to figure out last week that they just struggled with. I don't expect them to have the same struggles, especially with Fafita as your quarterback. But I just think K-State has a lot more to lose, because this is a team at the end of the year. Like, if you slip up and lose this game and we don't know how Arizona turns out, like, this is a hard one, I think, to explain later on down the road.
Yeah, I think that one's kind of hitting the nail on the head there. I think an interesting part of this for me is if you look at K-State last week, they played a good G5 team close. But if you look closely, they gave up 491 total yards, and a majority of that was through the air. They gave up 11.8 yards per pass. This is probably, if not one of the best in the country, definitely one of the best in the Big 12 passing duos coming in, which we already mentioned, McMillan and Fafita. So limiting them is prime stop number one for K-State when it comes to handling this game, covering, all the above. Like, they have to stop that duo. We haven't seen a ton from Arizona on the ground. Like Jake mentioned, they're coming off a week where they really couldn't get it going, and especially on third down, to now go on the road in a somewhat tough environment and try and convert third downs. Then good luck, Chuck. So that is kind of where I have my thoughts on the game. JP.
Yeah, when I look at this, I think the defensive secondary for Arizona is better than you might think. They did lose some guys, but I think they have a good tandem at defensive back and at corner.
Yes.
It's just the front. Like, they rotate a ton of guys on the defensive line, and the linebackers are also a big rotation group with a lot of guys with experience, but not an overwhelming star at any one of them. Kansas State leans on the fact that they can run the football, and they got a guy in Avery Johnson who can also get to the edge as a quarterback. It just adds an 11th guy that you have to really, truly worry about. And it feels like it's going to be big play after big play here. Like, I just feel like Giddens and company for Kansas State is going to be able to gash some and really move the football just with keeping Arizona off balance. And I just don't see a DB on Kansas State that's truly going to slow this down. Like, one-on-one balls up in the air are McMillan's until somebody proves me different. So I feel like big plays are going to happen. I don't know if it's high scoring. What's this? Do we know what this over-under is at? Is it in the 50s?
I think it's
looking.
It just
screams
to me.
59.
See, this screams to me like, I don't know if it's just big play scores, but it's like a gash. Like, who gashes who more? How many more cuts can you take, right? because you're not going to slow down Kansas State's running attack because they got scared last week and they dealt with that and they took the blows, like Jake said. But they were also still fine running the ball. Avery Johnson struggled through the air, but I don't think that's going to be their worry in this one. It's to try to wear down a Arizona front. And I think Arizona is perfectly fine with trying to throw the football a little bit and trusting Fafita to do his thing. So I'm thinking this is going to get into the 24-31 range somewhere in there. Like teams are going to score here.
Well, I'm going to ask you for a regular score. Give me a score.
Yeah.
Let's start the roundtable style. You kick us off, JP.
Yeah, this one's tough for me because I do think Arizona stays close with just their big playability, and maybe they just enough big plays, enough chunk plays. So give me this one. I'll take Kansas State 31, Arizona 27. So I think they stay within the number.
Okay, that is a close game. That would be good Friday night football.
That's right at that 59 number. Sorry, I mean I'm going right at it. So
you are Vegas.
I'll take K-State in this one. How about 37-31? I like them so they cover too, but give me that.
Okay, so you have Arizona. Both of you guys have Arizona covering, just to be clear.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I'll take the other side just in case Jake's taking Arizona. Give me K-State in this one, 41-27. I think Arizona's still going to get there just from what I saw in K-State's secondary last week. I still think they'll score some points, but I don't know if you can stop this rushing attack on the Kansas State side of things if you're Arizona. So 41-27, I have the Wildcats in purple winning this one, Jake.
Well, it's just like, is K-State going to be vanilla with their play calls? Like it feels like they haven't let Avery Johnson run loose yet. Like what kind of play calling am I going to get for Avery Johnson? The Dampier kid for New Mexico had a field day on the ground, the quarterback for New Mexico against Arizona. So that's concerning to me, but I don't know what I'm going to get out of K-State. I said on my Big 12 show that I picked Arizona to win outright, and I was like, why did I do that last night thinking about it? But I'm sticking to it. I think Arizona goes in and gets the win 35-31.
Okay, so I am the savior. I am the only one
on the island,
on the ATS board. So you're welcome for that in advance. So that is the Friday night game. Let's move it down to Saturday, and let's talk big noon kickoff. Let's stay on Fox. Let's go to Bama and Wisconsin. This one is in Camp Randall at 11 a.m. Central Time. That's God's time zone for all you at home. Bama, I saw, as a 16-point favorite on Monday. I think it's 16.5 or maybe 15.5 live right now. This one should be pretty interesting. There's some question marks lingering around both teams. JP, talk to us about this one.
Yeah, this one kind of screams like Alabama get right. Like now you're going to get challenged. Now you're really going to have a chance to show and bow up and kind of how much different a DeBoer team looks than a Saban team in this situation. Wisconsin, on the other end, has really been sputtery. Like the offense hasn't looked the same. It hasn't been great. I wrote down the numbers for Van Dyke through all of this, and I believe his completion percentage is like 60% on the year. Yeah, 60%, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions on the year. So this, like, I know we talked about Wisconsin being in air raid schemes, but they want to run the ball well. Like they have Ches Malusi, they have a front that they're confident in. Problem is if we're start letting Van Dyke sling it around the yard, this is one of the better secondaries they'll probably see all year, if not the best, right? And if that's the case, is there something that Wisconsin can do differently with running the ball to open things up? A lot of people were saying, and kind of looking back at the USF game as well as the Western Kentucky game for Alabama, and that there were guys open downfield, but the quarterbacks weren't hitting them. For whatever reason, Brown could not hit these guys last week. Can Van Dyke do it? Maybe, but they also don't have the athlete out there to get that wide open at the receiver position. So for me, it was a lot looking at, okay, so if Wisconsin's going to win, they're going to have to move the football. Are we really confident that Van Dyke's going to be able to do that at a level he hasn't done yet this year in a Wisconsin uniform? We're just all of a sudden opening this up and he's not going to make any more mistakes like he has the last couple of years. That part scares me. I think Wisconsin likes the offensive line, but I think Alabama knows they have a chance of getting after the quarterback for them. Jalen Milroe, I think, presents a world of problems for this Wisconsin team, right? This is a team that traditionally has a really good linebacking core and a very good front. I don't think the front is what it usually is. And I think Milroe getting out of the pocket, like the legit, he's a big play guy. Like it's a bomb downfield, or it's ability to get out of the pocket and throw a bomb, or it's getting 15-20 on a 3rd and 2. I think it's going to be a ton of fun to totally watch that unfold, is how Milroe's used in this situation, because I just think they out-athlete him, Alabama does. And I like the running backs in Jam Miller and Justice Haynes. I believe Jake, correct me on this. I think we were listening to the same thing today. The tackles, Proctor, and Pritchett. Proctor, a maybe.
Yeah.
Pritchett is kind of up in the air still as well. The tackles for Alabama, but
I haven't heard anything. I'm assuming Proctor's still
I
out.
heard Proctor is questionable.
Still questionable. Yeah, I just don't know if Wisconsin can create the havoc they need to really make Jalen Milroe, questionable. It's just it's a tough spot.
I really don't.
I'll keep mine light before you go run on, Jake, because I know you got a lot on this. But I think if you look back at the past couple of weeks, there's questions around both teams, and Wisconsin's in a worse spot because I think this fan base is starting to have some awareness of maybe where this program's going under Fickell. I get it. It's only year 2, but last year you were picked to compete and almost win that West division, and you were nowhere near it. You looked really bad a lot of the time, and now you've gotten in 2 dogfights against inferior opponents to start the year in South Dakota and Western Michigan. So what's it with Wisconsin fan base? This is a huge game for their reaction and how they take away the rest of Fickell's time there. And then the other side, you got Alabama. That was a dogfight with USF last week until the fourth quarter. It really was. So they're looking for things to open up as well. I think they had a lot of that Alabama fan base on the edge of their seat again that USF did. They didn't handle Brown running the ball very well at all on the defensive side of the ball if you're Alabama. Good news, Tyler Van Dyke doesn't run it even half as much, but Ches Malusi is a good enough back where he can hurt you. I do think the key to this game is, are we going to get old Tyler Van Dyke that is throwing 4 or 5 passes to the other team, or can they stay sound and stay competitive throughout this game? But I do think Bama gets them. Jake.
I'm hand in hand with Keegan in the comments here. Like, I will keep this short. I think much like NC State, Tennessee last week, I think that this non-SEC opponent is completely outmatched in athletes. I would say if you put USF and Wisconsin on a neutral field, I mean, it's maybe a 3-point game on one side. I don't think it's that
or USF gets them.
Yeah. Jam Miller, like Justice Haynes, I think they're going to have a field day running the ball. Did you guys look back? Do you guys even have a chance to watch the USD Wisconsin game? Like, that kid for USD ran pretty damn hard. I was like, wow. Now let's throw Jalen Milroe on top of that, on top of their good running backs. And now you try to stop the run there. This air raid thing is just horrendous. I know it's not a complete disaster, but like, he's averaging 6 yards per completion. Tyler Van Dyke is. He's got 1 touchdown.
I agree. I think seeing him throw the ball 63 times with the Wisconsin logo next to his name is still like a little staggering as a fan of the Big Ten. Like 70 times in 2 games, and you're Wisconsin, they usually run it 75 times a game. So they're still getting used to it there too. Reese, thoughts on this matchup?
See, I think with Wisconsin, like, you want to throw the ball, but it's also, I think you don't want to throw the ball so much because you don't want to give Crimson a lot of time with the football. I think you want to run it as well. You talk about Malusi. So I think they're going to try to run. If they can establish a run game and keep it away from Alabama, that's going to help. But it's also, I think Alabama's going to want to run the ball a lot too, with Miller and Haynes, and especially with Milroe too. I think there's going to be a lot of clock going in this one because I think the run game is going to be pretty solid. It just depends how much like shots they're going to take. Because if Van Dyke is going to turn the ball over for Wisconsin, I think it's going to be a long game for him. You're going on the road to Camp Randall. Jump around's got to get pretty damn rowdy, I think, for something to happen. Because I just don't know if you have the weapons and the offense to do anything to stop the Crimson Tide from coming in there and doing their thing.
I mean, if we're going to talk about out-athleted, a bye week than USC for Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Alabama's got decent receivers, but USC's are a different level. I mean, I think and if USC is more bowed up in the middle, like they showed against LSU, to like stuff the run a little bit, I mean, it really throws you for a loop. And we kind of were talking about Wisconsin before the year even started on what we thought of them and kind of where they were coming into this year. So it's not that big of a difference. It's just now you slow down to start the year and try to ramp that thing back up. Like, the place is going to be bumping. It's going to be a hell of an atmosphere. But
maybe.
I mean, at a point there's just too much in the wrong favor. I mean, it's just a really bad matchup in a lot of spots.
It'll be a good, like, you're telling me Wisconsin's not going to sell it out and Camp Randall's going to be going crazy.
I think they will.
You're not.
I mean,
Cam said maybe.
Dude, that atmosphere has fallen off very hard. It has.
But how many
like,
times is Alabama going to come to town?
Yeah, I don't know if they want to watch that after the last 2 weeks, though. That fan base is on edge out there, man. They are. But that should be a fun one. It's going to be a good game. Let's go round table style. Give our score predictions. Jake, who doesn't think it's going to be a good game, what do you think the score is going to be?
Can you hear my mic? Hold on.
about nothing but the Tide, baby.
Yeah. Shout out Willie.
We don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide. I've got 45-17 here. Like I think I should probably put real money on Bama here for as confident as I sound, huh? Yeah,
I would agree. But the ATS board is hot for you, so don't feel that bad about it.
I do think with Alabama will pull away. I think they'll start off kind of that slow pace. They're out. Wisconsin will be in it the first couple of quarters, but then Alabama will kind of do what they did last week and just out athlete them at the end. Give me Alabama 34-14 in this one, Reese.
Yeah, I'm right around there. I went 31-13 Alabama.
Yep, very close. Good guess. And JP, are you going to round us out and say Bama's
I'm
not
on
gonna
the
cover?
same track, but I didn't realize we were all going to be on the number 13, so I don't love that. How about?
I mean, let's not second guess it here. Like we all had Texas last week on Michigan.
Yeah,
I'm not changing it.
You guys thought Texas was going to score that many points in that defense. Come on,
give me 34-17.
Okay,
cover.
But we are in a little bit of a greasy area here as a show. That is a
late touchdown makes it look like it wasn't as bad as it was.
Okay.
That's good point.
I can see that, but that's good news that we're all on the same page in that one. So we have Alabama winning in Camp Randall. Wisconsin would fall to 2-1. Alabama to 3-0.
Yeah.
Not in the prettiest fashion. So it's a big get right game for Alabama going into SEC play here shortly. But that is that one. Let's keep moving down the line. Let's jump. I believe we're jumping over one, JP. We're going to Missouri and Boston College.
Gotcha.
Let's talk about the Mizzou Tigers, who have not let up a point this year. Jake, take us through this one.
Yeah, they haven't let up a point, but this is
Buffalo.
I was going to say, do we dare say this is the first legit test for Missouri? Now, I don't want to discredit.
No, you can
Boston.
say that.
I don't want to discredit Boston College, but I mean, I think that I don't know. I mean, maybe I should take that back because Missouri's schedule is very light, so this could be a top 4 opponent they see this year coming to Columbia. The question for me and the question we had all offseason was, can Missouri replace the production in the pass rush for some of the guys that they lost to the NFL draft last year? Like we saw what Castellanos did against a really good, supposedly a really good pass rush in Florida State. You know, I think that it's still early. I think Florida State's pass rush is still better than Missouri's right now. We'll have to wait and see. So does Castellanos get to 75, 100 yards on the ground? He hasn't thrown the ball much this year. He's thrown 26 passes.
Yep.
He's completed 73% of them. So he's efficient, but he hasn't really thrown the ball a ton. If Missouri contains him, they're going to force Castellanos to throw. I think Bill O'Brien's done a nice job so far of kind of hiding some of the aspects in Castellanos' throwing game that's just not very good. So I think if they actually want to have a chance on the road here, they're going to have to throw more than 13 times a game. One matchup to watch, like Amari Jackson's probably the best defensive guy for Boston College. He's a cornerback. Watch him on Luther Burden and see how that develops as well. I didn't really even mention the offense if somebody wants to take that over for me.
It'll be interesting to see how Boston College handles their first competent and consistent quarterback this year, because you can't put that on DJU, that's for sure, especially the way he played in that game. I really don't know if Thomas Castellanos can do enough against this team and what this defense is doing. Like, they may not have played anybody, but this is a defense playing with all the confidence in the world right now. You haven't given up a single point through 2 games. Yes, I get who they've played, but still, that builds confidence within your unit. And I don't know if Boston College is at the point yet within their program, who's been ranked for the first time in forever, to go into an atmosphere like this in a schedule that we already talked about is favorable. So you got to think Missouri is just handling business on Saturday. JP.
I mean, are we just assuming anybody that beats Florida State's good now?
Yeah, that's a great point.
We're at the time of the year where
they did beat Duquesne too. Don't discredit Duquesne.
But it's like we're at the point of the year where like the number next to your name, and if you get a win, that team becomes ranked. And it's like that doesn't necessarily mean that team's actually a top 25 football team. Like we came into the year like, well, Bill O'Brien maybe a good hire there. It's going to work out. Castellanos isn't your pocket passer. Don't force him to be one. Let him kind of use his legs and be good. Jake touched on it. I literally wrote that down. I think he had 10 attempts in one and 16 attempts in the other game. We're at 26 times what we're going to throw the football. I understand you don't need to throw the ball against Duquesne and do anything crazy, But a lot of the completions, why it's so high, is they're not downfield passes. It's getting Trayshawn Ward out in space on the edge. They ran the wheel route on Florida State 2 or 3 times. They ran it again last week against Duquesne. Nobody's there to cover it. It's an easy 8-10 yard throw to a guy wide open with a ton of speed on the edge. Like Missouri, I feel like just has the ability to cover that. And if they don't get to the quarterback, Jake touched on, like if maybe Boston College is a little better I think they're good on the offensive line. I think Boston College is solid. But if the pass rush isn't there for Missouri, I mean, guys have to get open downfield. Missouri on the offensive side, Brady Cook's not a guy that's going to start turning it over all the time. I think Boston College is fine, but they're undersized on the defensive line. They have a good guy at corner, but there's a lot of weapons. And I think, like, we haven't even touched on the running backs for Missouri. Like, Nate Noel has been a great addition. I think they're more than happy with that right now, and I think they'll be more than happy to give it to him 20 times. They split the carries a ton between him and Carroll. And I think there's just looking at this is wear them down, just beat them where you can. Missouri's not going to go flashy on them, I would assume. It's going to be between the tackles and the play action and Cook's strengths, and then Castellanos will make a play or two. But at the end of the day, it's just slowly going to fall away where they need to make a drive and they're not able to. So I'm so happy for Boston College that they are ranked and they're playing better and they've got a lot of confidence, because it's fun to have another ACC school, in the mix and getting talked about. And one that's, let's be honest about it, not at the top of the NIL thing. They don't have a ton of money within the program. It's not a school that's
a hockey school.
They play hockey every once in a while. They're okay at basketball. They're pretty good at baseball. Like, they're not a school that screams fall.
Let me fact check you there. They're horrendous at basketball normally.
I said every once in a while. Maybe 1 in 30 years, Jacob.
Remember that? I got to throw out that quote. You remember that kid who was asked at the end of the ACC tournament? They're like, he played for Boston College. They're like, what was your favorite memory?
Going out to eat.
Yeah. Going out to eat.
Hey, those are good memories. Going out to eat in college.
Pick a partner, pick a pizza.
But all right, Reese, give us your thoughts on this game.
I just don't know if Boston College has enough. You talk about Bill O'Brien going there, and it's been successful so far. But you talk about it being their first real test, and let's see what Missouri is going to be like. I think they're just going to have too much offensively. What's Boston College pass rush going to be like? Because I think with Burden and Cook and JB just mentioned the weapons in the backfield, I think Missouri, especially being at home too, I think it's a nice addition to have this. I just think they're going to have too much for Boston College to keep up with them.
I'll kick off round table style scoring here. I think Jake is frozen. If not,
I was going to say, is he trying not? Yeah.
I don't know.
It's pretty good
he's doing down there. It's a good angle at least to get frozen on. But I'll kick us off. I just think the turnover game is I think it's going to play a big role in this matchup. I think Castellanos turns it over a couple of times. Missouri rolls at home. It's a very fine-tuned machine, the Luther Burden and Brady Cook connection here. And I don't know if I trust Boston College's secondary enough consistently to stay within this game. So I got Missouri in this one by a lot. I like Missouri to win this one 41-17 at home and really open up the year. I mean, this is a SEC contender for a reason, people. JP.
Yeah, I would say this is just going to be one that just kind of grinds out to the end. Like, Missouri's just going to be on them. Maybe Boston College gets an early touchdown. This one's like 17-7.5. You're like, hey, just put a drive together. You get the football right away.
Yeah.
And it just kind of slowly kind of grinds away. So I'm going to take this as 16.5, correct?
Yes.
I think Missouri covers. I think this one's like 31-13. I think there's a way that Boston College can find a way, but it's not a way. It's going to be bounce a ball. It's going to be something off. It's going to be bad turnovers. You're going to make a play or two. I think the tandem with Castellanos and Ward is great. They're going to make a couple plays on the ground. That's just the way this thing works out. But not enough downfield passing attack, not enough big plays to keep them in it all the way.
I like the way you said that one, because I do think that it's a thing in college football that happens pretty consistently. Is, let's say you're at a game, or maybe the wife or girlfriend drags you out of the house to go to a store or something, and you check your phone and it's mid-second quarter and it's like 10-3 Boston College, and you're like, oh my God, what's going on?
Yeah.
Then you get home at 41-10.
Yeah. You're at Charlie's Philly Steakhouse in the strip mall, and you look at your phone, you're like, oh damn, like, okay.
Yeah, Boston College up 10-3 mid-second quarter. Like, we got to get this on, and you
got to get out of here.
Third quarter, it's 41-10.
Exactly.
That's just college football in a nutshell. Reese, give us your score prediction.
I like where you guys' heads, and I think Missouri does cover this number. I'll go 37-17.
Okay, I like that. We'll go with Jake hopefully taking Boston College to save us all, but he probably won't. I think he's going to be on Missouri.
We'll hold on that one.
Yeah, we'll get it back when he comes back. We'll give you a big pick because I'm sure actually people are waiting for it. The kid's on fire. I think he stands at 13 and 2.
13 and 2 through 2 weeks.
This kid is Bambino Bets at the moment. So when he gets back, we will ask him on this game. All right, we're at the midway point. We'll give Jake a few minutes to get back in here. But let's talk No Rivals. Shop No Rivals are great partners. It is a premium new hat brand that does a great job. They are coming out with new designs daily, dropping new teams daily. Ole Miss is on there live. I haven't gotten that tweet out yet, but Ole Miss is streaming on there now. Utah's live now. We got 3 more that we're already telling you. Missouri, a team we just previewed, is coming soon. So check that out. And they got new collections. They dropped USA hats. So anything you might need is available on shopnorivals.com. And you can get free shipping on any hat you choose to purchase with code PTFS. So do that today. Shop No Rivals, you're great partners. We appreciate all the team over at No Rivals. They're doing an awesome job. All right. With that said, we are at the midway point. Let's go back into previews and let's talk Tulane and Oklahoma. This one last week would have been like, let's say Tulane wins. You're like, all right, this is a huge game. Tulane's probably ranked. Jake looks like he's been through the ringer, but you're just in time to talk now SEC football. Tulane gets in a dogfight last week with Kansas State. Oklahoma gets in a dogfight with Houston, who got blown out by UNLV, which I'm sure somebody will mention. JP, tell us your thoughts on this matchup.
I mean, looking at the game last week, we really did think that was a chance Kansas State could lose. By the way, Tulane had a chance to tie that game late. Mensa just made too many freshman mistakes. Bad sacks that were taken, not getting the ball thrown away, a bad pick here or there. He fumbles a ball when it just needs thrown away. Just get it out of your hands. Just too many freshman mistakes. Now the kid's got to go on the road into Norman against a Venables defense who still is very good and they're very confident in. And so now it just gets tougher for the kid. I think the thing that kind of got out of his way is that he tried to be hero. He tried to play hero ball in a lot of ways. And it's just not possible. And it's definitely not going to be possible in this atmosphere and in this situation because Oklahoma got a scare last week. You don't think that they've circled Tulane like, hey, you play like that again, this team will legit beat you. And so, like, I think it's circled and it's harder to call an upset when, one was close last week to a big upset. And the other one got a good scare off a team that's not as good as Tulane coming in there. When I look at Oklahoma and their offense, I'm going to start on the offensive side of the ball for them. Jackson Arnold, like, poor guy, just wants to be a guy in Norman that people like, but he's running for his life at all times. They haven't gotten the run game going as much. It's more so by committee. They can't throw the football. He's under pressure. His completion percentage is around 60%. The offensive line just needs to get something figured out. And I know Tulane's not going to come in there with defensive line pressure up the wazoo. I mean, they had 0 sacks last week. I mean, possibly of getting some this week just with Oklahoma and the way they're struggling. But if you're Oklahoma, it's like, let's get right now. Like, this offense has to start working a little bit better. It can't just be a defense and special teams type recipe playing in the SEC. When you got a guy in Arnold that they're really confident in, was that well regarded out of high school?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. I also kind of look at last week when you take a look at Oklahoma and what did Houston do to stay competitive within that game? Because on paper, you would have thought Oklahoma would have rolled in. Jackson Arnold had a big day. The defense got stopped just like UNLV did. Then all of a sudden, Oklahoma only puts up 249 yards and goes 4 for 14 on third downs in their own house. They're giving you a blueprint here, Tulane. You got to just slow the game down. Houston dominated time of possession last week and only forced 1 turnover. 35 minutes to 24 minutes on the Oklahoma side. Houston won that time of possession battle. I think you got to look to do the same here. Get Mekhi Hughes going on the ground. I do think this is a good sneaky spot for the Green Wave to start building back up. They should have gotten that one last week if they didn't fumble and get that scoop and score late. Jake, if your mic works, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, can you hear me? Or my
end? You, brother.
I don't. Yeah,
like
it's
Apple
been
hang up job.
Apple's doing something wrong. Because anybody in the comments know what a new laptop costs? You can let me know.
A lot, Jacob.
$1,000.
Yeah, probably. All right.
This guy's got money.
I don't know. I'm gonna keep it short. From what I saw last week, I really don't know what I'm getting into this game. Like, does Willie Fritz give his old team some tips on how to play this team defensively in Oklahoma? Because I think he had Jackson Arnold last week in some fits. But And I think Tulane's got enough weapons. I mean, we've mentioned them 100 times, right? I think they have enough weapons to maybe
Absolutely
give Oklahoma some problems defensively. But also, Danny Stetzman's one of the best in the country, and so is Billy Bowman. And that defensive line's getting a lot better. Like Dominic Williams in the middle, the TCU transfer, he was big last week too. So there's just spots like this is the one game this week on our slate I just really don't know. I could see it going either way. I could see Oklahoma getting pissed, winning by 40, and I could see Tulane having a shot until the end. I'm terrible with this projection right now.
Yeah, and that's a fair place to be with the way both of these teams played last week. It literally puts them in the middle. Reese, any thoughts on this matchup?
Shay, if you missed an opportunity there, you said, will Willie Fritz's old team give his old team, you said, like, issues? You should have said the Fitz, like you could have had a double on. You had some burdens here.
I was like, where are you going with that?
You literally later, you even said somebody give somebody the Fitz, man. You missed an opportunity right there. I thought you were going to nail it.
Yeah, come on.
But it's like, do you go with the team that struggled last week at home? Again, you make observations, don't overreact. You imagine they're going to make some adjustments against that, like they had against that Houston team, especially when you're going to be a little more motivated with this Tulane team. You saw what they did last week, but I think with this one, I think you ride with the team who played very well last week and, like I said, should have won that ball game. But Mensa just made some, those freshman mistakes that he made. Is he going to learn from those? This is true. Probably the hardest game he's going to have on his schedule this year, going on the road to Norman. So it's kind of hard to bet on that. It's not easy to put your money on a freshman quarterback going into this kind of an environment, but I think this is an opportunity for they'll keep it closer. If they win this game, I don't think any of us would be shocked, but I think Tulane keeps us within the number.
Yeah, I think the number is a big thing to look at here, Reese. That's a perfect point because it is 13.5. We're talking, they're thinking Oklahoma's going to win by 2 touchdowns. I don't know if that offense showed you enough against a very okay Houston defense last week. Here comes Tulane, who put up 27 and probably should have been 34 on a Kansas State team that has somewhat of a decent defense and pretty much did what they wanted to all day. Another fun storyline here is Tulane's got an opportunity here to right the ship of what Michael Pratt tried to do in this building 3 years ago now. So another opportunity in Norman for the Green Wave. JP, kick us off, roundtable style, score prediction.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this one, but I am going to take the Venables team at home just to win by 2 scores. I mean, I'm thinking slow down. Mensa's he's going to have weapons in Williams and Hughes in the backfield. It's just going to be a little too much in Norman to keep this one close. So I'm going to go 24-13. I think it's just a lower score. And I don't think anybody pops off quite in this one. Oklahoma doesn't quite get great on offense, but Tulane really just can't find their footing.
We are all floating around each other this week. Give me Oklahoma at home. I had 27-17. So Tulane covering the number. Give me the Green Wave on the ATS board. But Venables gets a pretty good win in our book at home here. Reese.
JB, I might have spaced out. Did you just take Oklahoma to cover, but then you said 24-13?
Yeah, I was going to address that after everybody picked.
Yeah. I was going to say, I was like,
guys,
hang on. We gotta figure out math here. We're not all that.
I think I meant to say 27-13.
The math ain't mathin'.
Yeah.
There you go. That's better. I'll take Oklahoma to win this football game, but I'm going to take Tulane to cover it. Give me 27-20.
God, we're all around that number, Jake. Pick something crazy.
I want to first say it's not all Jackson Arnold's fault. Like Sawchuk could help out. Like they could run the ball better. We can even go back to week 1. Like there's some red flags with this Oklahoma offense right now. Like Temple was terrible and they were still kind of slow and methodical. Like that being said, I'm going to take the Green Wave here. I hate that it's 13.5. I absolutely hate it, but I think they're even fast enough to score a backdoor touchdown if needed be. So that being said,
you're welcome.
If you're going to give me a backdoor, oh man, I don't make it closer than it is. 27-17 probably is where I'll put this. I just don't see Oklahoma scoring that many points, but I also don't see Tulane being slowed down that much.
Did I not say that same score prediction?
It's pretty close, I think.
27-17.
I thought I said the same thing, but it's fine.
What if it hits?
You couldn't have. Parks,
what if it hit? 1 in a million.
No, I didn't. I took the Green Wave on the ATS board. You got to dial in, Schaefer. This is an important damn show, and I'm giving you winners. Lock in. The kid's Wi-Fi signal's cutting me out. Damn it. All right, but that is Tulane in Oklahoma. That should be a fun one over on ESPN at 2:30 Central. Let's move down the line. Let's go to the Backyard Brawl. Everybody wants to talk about this one. This one's very fun. Always has brought some great moments here in the last few years, and this matchup is pretty close. They have West Virginia as a 2.5 point favorite. I think I saw 2 today floating around there as well. This one's in Pitt at no longer called Heinz Field. And this one should be fun. JP, I know you're a big fan of this game, and you have a little bit of homerism towards Pitt, so you break this one down for us.
Yeah, Eli Holstein hasn't been as bad as we maybe thought he would be. I mean, the question mark's not as big here. But you know who's been incredible for this Pitt team? Desmond Reed, over 140 yards in both football games for Pitt. In a battle with Cincinnati last week, they end up winning that one. I mean, if we're going to run for over 140, you know who's getting the football against a West Virginia defense that got eaten up. I understand it's a Penn State team with two better backs, but if we're going to run for 142 games in a row, he's going to have something to him. At Pitt, if you remember the last time they played at Pitt, it was disgusting. Like it was a West Virginia chance to go tie a football game, and a weird interception happens, and Pitt kind of runs away with it late. But it was the shock to me that Pitt's got the ability to move the football through the air a little bit. Now, he's not going to be a game breaker or anything, and he's going to be prone to some turnovers as we saw last year. Like Holstein's good, but I think it's going to be Narduzzi being like, hey, let's run the football. Let's dare them to stop that, and then we'll try something else. West Virginia, let's see if we can bow up against another offense that may create some issues, because there was open guys all over the field against Penn State, just schemed wide open. And then the run game got questionable. It just kind of got to a strange point. Pitt like kind of lost their way on the defensive side of the ball. Cincinnati had a good game against them a week ago. Garrett Green, we got to hit some guys downfield. We got to hit open men. We can't just rely on the three-headed monster in the backfield. We have to be able to be good off play action. We have to hit open guys. And I know their receiving core is not this crazy special thing, but this is a game to get yourself going. It's going to be tough. You're going to have to hit open guys, or they're just going to pack the box on you. And Narduzzi's been good at that, and has done it for a really long time. Jacob, talk to me about this though. If you're Neil Brown and you're taking Garrett Green into this situation, I mean, how much changes? Like, what are you telling this kid?
Well, he didn't play in this one last year, so I think that's actually advantage West Virginia, because it was a low scoring affair, but they kind of dominated the football game without him. I think that they run the football, and I think they'll do it effectively. I mean, Cincinnati was up 27-6 on Pitt last week, and there's no reason they should have lost that football game. But like you said, Des Reed's been incredible. And I think Eli Holstein's a major upgrade than Jerkovic was at this time last year. I mean, he was so bad, but there was no reason this team should be winning. And I think that's to West Virginia's advantage that Pitt shouldn't have won last week. I think maybe they're feeling a little high on themselves. Granted, I think that West Virginia also is going to travel really well. I think the Pitt fans are very wishy-washy. This is a 45-minute drive for a pro stadium. I think West Virginia is going to pack it out. They also won this game without Jaheim White last year. Like, he didn't come into his own until later in the year. So those are two of your best rushers, two of your best offensive players. Besides CJ Donaldson, you also get him back. I mean, the Pitt defense doesn't scare me by any means. I think that West Virginia has what it takes to travel on the road, just with the run game to suit well here in Pitt.
I think it's a very simple way to look at this game, but I think you're asking a ton from Pitt and not a lot from West Virginia. That's simply what you're doing, because Pitt needs to do above and beyond. They need to force turnovers from Garrett Green, who hasn't thrown a pick all year long, against a really good defense, and Penn State included. You're asking a lot from Pitt in this situation at home. This is kind of where I think, I'm glad you mentioned it, Jake, that he didn't play in that game last year, because you're getting a new look at an experienced quarterback. That doesn't happen very often, especially when you play like these two programs do. So give me West Virginia. I think that this line is only where it is because it's a rivalry game and the history of it. But I do like West Virginia in this spot. And as a Garrett Green hater, I think that this is maybe a truce card I'm going to throw out there, because I think he has a very consistent, serviceable performance that does enough for West Virginia to cover this number on the road. Reese.
Yeah, you look at, when West Virginia played Penn, they have a solid backfield with Allen. And then you look at they threw the ball extremely well too. And you look at Pitt with Holstein. You talk about Reed, who's ran the ball for over 140 yards both games. So there's that issue as well too there. But I think you hit the nail on the head, like you just said. It's a lot for Pitt, and it's not as much for West Virginia. If West Virginia goes and kind of lulls himself in this game, which I don't think it's going to happen, because if you're a West Virginia or a Pitt fan, like, this is a big game for you guys. When I previewed Pitt at the beginning of the year, this was the game that I talked about, where it's I think this game, however it goes, is going to be the identity of the team this year. And I just think West Virginia is going to be a little bit better in this spot. I just think, like I said, West Virginia's got to do a lot less. I think to lose this game, Pitt's got to do a whole lot more to win this game. So I like West Virginia in this spot.
Okay, JP, kick us off roundtable style. Give us final score predictions here.
Yeah, I'd like at 2.5. I'm just going to take the team I think is better here. I think West Virginia is the better team. If this is around 5.5, 6, I'd probably look at Pitt as a home dog here, but I'll take West Virginia just because it's the 2.5.
Okay, I think that we're going to have a unanimous one here. Give me West Virginia. I think they cover this number by a decent amount. Give me a 10 to 14 point winner over here in Pitt. I think the score, let's go 34-20. West Virginia. I think they'll give up some just because of the rivalry aspect, but West Virginia ultimately takes it on the road. Jake.
Yep, West Virginia, 2017.
Okay, so just covering the numbers.
Lower
Shout out
one.
Vegas and Reese.
Country Roads take me home. Let's go West Virginia 38-27.
All right,
Well,
so that's a
that'd be
handily
fun.
win. That would be a lot of points. And
You want me to be
on
different?
par.
Everybody else is going up. I'm going up.
I like that. On par with the Backyard Brawl, too, and how those games go. So I like that. But that is the Backyard Brawl. Let's move it down to our last game we're going to preview. And I'll open it up with Jake on this one because let's talk a little UCF at TCU. This atmosphere should be pretty good. It's going to be fun to see KJ Jefferson against a competent team. Let's talk this one, Jake. Break it down.
Yeah, super excited that these are two of the teams that are going to get us started here with Big 12 conference play. Like, obviously, Arizona K-State does not count. So this is our first Big 12 conference game of the year. And on Fox, this has the potential to be a KJ Jefferson coming out party. And as a fan of the KJ Jefferson fan club, as I should say, I'm president at this point. I think I am president of the fan club. I need him to show out in this game. Last week he was 12 of 15, really efficient, 180 yards, made the right plays. Sam Houston is a fine Conference USA team, but it's like that's what you should be doing if you're KJ Jefferson. Now it's here you go. You're going to have to showcase your ability on the road if your team wants to get 1-0 in Big 12 conference play. I think it would be a huge springboard for the Knights in Gus Malzahn to be that dark horse in the league like some people thought they were. He's not going to have to do it alone, though. Obviously, you look at RJ Harvey, had 4 touchdowns last week, 120-plus yards. He's been really good so far this year. Penny Boone is a fantastic second option that they haven't even really used that much yet, too. So keep that in mind. Let's flip it to the other side. TCU is one of the more up-tempo offenses in all of college football. Josh Hoover likes to throw it fast, quick. They get up on the line. They will be putting out a lot of balls through the air, and this team's going to be pretty much run and gun from the beginning. It's just kind of two contrast of styles. Like you have running the football in UCF, you have the up-tempo air raid kind of style in TCU. Really fascinated to see where this goes. I'm just going to kind of sit back and enjoy this one, but I will give you guys a pick.
Okay. I like that breakdown. I kind of going to add on to that because you had the same points I did and the two different playing styles. Just to put that in perspective, TCU has almost thrown the ball just about 70 times through 2 games to KJ Jefferson's 30 attempts. So it's really going to play a role where TCU is trying to run down the field consistently, and UCF has that ability to slow it down. You're asking a lot from Hoover and TCU, young guy in a bigger spot against a team that I think all of us collectively had as a sleeper throughout this conference in UCF. I do like UCF in this spot. Amon G. Carter Stadium. I love you. I love you, TCU fans. We need you in college football, but that is not tough enough to play. I like UCF in this spot. JP.
Yeah, I mean, just Gus Malzahn's going to scheme things open in the run game that a lot of people around college football don't do. It's very unique on how they handle things in the RPOs and getting guys into space. KJ doesn't need to throw the football to like make this offense run. That's just the scheme they run. But I feel like if he's put in a situation where he needs to throw a couple balls, he can. Have we seen it this year quite yet? No. But I think he showed at Missouri that he had the ability through the air to hit some guys. And they have 2 receivers in Townsend and Hudson that are great. Like these are 2 of the better receivers in the Big 12. You'd put them in the top 10, top 8 in the conference, I would think. And I think that really helps him out in some bailout options. TCU, I think, is better than we thought to start the year. Like we were kind of in the middle on them a lot. But it's just like to get this one, I feel like there's a lot that Hoover needs to be better at. And I feel like there's just some things that UCF does really well that we haven't seen yet on a national stage or in a situation like this. So I like UCF here too.
I also think it's worth mentioning. I saw a lot of take backs away from KJ Jefferson in week 1 early, how he wasn't a good player. And that might have been Arkansas Twitter swirling around. But I was a little shocked that TCU was a favorite here. If it's not a pick 'em, which it nearly is, I thought UCF also. If this line was UCF -2, I don't think I would have picked it any differently, to be honest with you.
It's
Reese,
the home field.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important to know too, like this, obviously with this graph you made earlier in the week, but this line went from being TCU favorite to now UCF favored by a field goal or by 2.5 too. So it's like you just show how much that moves for it. And I think you always talk about that. It's they have that backfield, which is awesome, but is this gonna be an opportunity where KJ is gonna have to throw the ball more? Like if they have to turn to that, can he step up on the road and do this? If he's gonna turn the ball over, I think they're gonna have more issues, especially when you talk about TCU over there and how quick that offense is. But this is a team at UCF. I talked about their win totals. One of the ones that I liked is like I remember mentioned at 7.5. This is the one you got to go get if you want to be that dark horse contender for the Big 12. And I'm going to lean the the Black Knights in this one as well too. I think Central Florida is a little bit better, a little more well put together team right now.
Shout out Batman. I like that. I shout out. But Reese, I'm going to kick it off with you anyway. Are you going to pick the Horned Frogs in the purple room down there? And I believe that was a purple Gatorade, by the way. But are you picking the Horned Frogs?
Powerades here, right here. Best flavor out there.
All perped.
No, I'm not taking TCU in this fight, even if they are home. I'm going to take UCF to go on the road here. I'm going to win. I'm going to have them win this game.
Please
Let's go 31-27.
Okay. Close matchup there. I could see that. I'm also going to take UCF in this spot. It depends on what line you're looking at or maybe what you got, if what they're going to be an underdog. But I'm taking UCF. And let's say 27-20.
Who's going to do it?
Boys, this is the one you got to go the other way on. You have to go the other way on. Because I feel like
getting us.
We can take
UCF.
JP, I've been on UCF since Monday. I can't. You mentioned before, though, will KJ have to throw the ball? Like, can they win this game? Like, Townsend had 100 yards last week. Hudson's supposed to be an all-conference guy. Like, they have really good receivers, too. That being said, like, taking UCF here. If you're going to watch somebody on TCU, though, Savion Williams, the receiver, I think he's an Alabama transfer. He's going to be their stud. If he goes for 150 yards, we could be in trouble. But I'm going to take UCF.
All right, JP, take the Knights. Round us out with a full. It was never going to be anything else. I've been on this team for the last 2 years.
It literally, I'm not changing it.
I can't move off. Like, I've been on this team for the last 2 years. I think they're better this year than they were a season ago. I can't back off this now. It's the team that
burn the boats. Let's go right together.
All right, no big deal.
Boys, we're sinking or swimming this week. Like
we're swimming.
Yeah,
we're all in this together.
We've won a few unanimous picks throughout this year. Yeah, it has not
4
been.
4 of the 5?
Yeah, 4 of the 6.
Hey, that's just guys know ball. Just because we all know ball does not mean that it's a bad pick. Let's just throw that out there. But college football will shock you when you least expect it. All right, that's it for previews. Let's go into the fun stuff. Let's lead it off with the dog's dog. And I'll go to JP first. I think we had a few outright winners last week. But JP, do you have updated standings on those or not quite yet?
I do not.
Okay.
Because I don't know if
give us your pick
from week 1. I'll take Florida at home. I'll take Florida at home plus 3.5.
Okay.
Lagway train.
I don't think Florida's as bad as they were maybe exposed to be against Miami. Texas A&M does not pose the same threat that Miami did in that situation. And Lagway at quarterback, maybe a little confidence. Forgot about Florida. People are like, man, but A&M looked rough too. I think A&M has bigger problems. And I think Florida has less of the problems that we think. I think Florida's talented. We just saw a schedule that scared them. Now we're seeing what A&M might actually be. I'll just take the home team plus 3.5. I think this is this is a classic, like, what was that, Florida, Kentucky a season ago? And then it was like there's a couple random ones in the SEC where it's like, well, that team's been playing a lot better lately. It's not how it goes. So I'll take Florida.
All right. There is the first dog's dog. Let's go down to Jake. Jake, who is your pick?
We're going to take the UTEP Miners plus 23.
Buddy's feeling it.
They are at Liberty this weekend. Guys, I don't know if you paid attention to our playoff darlings in Liberty. They're a pretty mediocre football team. I don't want to say they're a bad football team, but they are a mediocre football team. This is a conference game.
You know, mediocre is worse than bad, right?
No. What? No.
If you say
Mediocre's
mediocre, I'm thinking like the fucking
No,
Mediocre is
mediocre's
not
like-
worse than mediocre. Is not worse than
Mediocre is
Like-
like mid. That's where mid.
Yeah, it's like
mediocre is like
average.
literally.
Oh, I'm
median.
thinking no, because that's not how you spell mediocre. But I'm just saying, mediocre seems like if you're calling someone mediocre, like that is some bad.
It's
bad,
kind of
bad
an
stuff.
it's kind of
No,
an
that's the
insult.
thing.
Like I'm kind
Mediocre
of
is like between good and bad. It's somewhere.
yeah. It's like
That would just be
below,
average.
slightly below
What a
average.
terrible name!
Whoa,
Why'd they
whoa,
make it
whoa,
so
whoa,
vicious?
whoa, whoa.
If somebody
I
called
would
me
say-
like bad at something and then they called me mediocre, I think I'd rather be
We're
bad
le-
than
hey,
mediocre.
we're
like
learning
average.
something. We're learning something.
No,
here
mediocre.
today.
Mediocre is between bad and below average.
All right, this
Yeah.
is English
Final
class. This is
there
kind of
we
a
go.
crazy thing. I was like, wait, what? All right.
Anyways, the UTEP offense has also been abysmal, like just absolute trash. But I really like Scotty Walden. I
Mediocre.
think his guys are going to come out and fight. I don't know. Liberty's got to show up here, and I just doubt that they will. They just look so complacent, like they know that they have the easiest schedule in all of college football.
I will
And I
say
believe-
when you were going to pick the UTEP Miners who lost to Southern Utah at home in front of 43,000 in the Sun Bowl was not
Bounce
going to
back.
be my first card out.
Bounce back. Hey, you live and you learn. You live and you learn.
Okay.
This
I
guy's
think
on
they have
one.
a quarterback decision going around down there, but I do like Scotty Walden. He's a hell of a coach. All right, JP, give us your, I'm sorry, Reese, your dog's dog.
Say Parks, I'm not taking yours. Don't worry, brother.
Thank you.
I'll go with.
Everybody knows where I'm going.
We haven't talked about this one, but we talk about the team that just struggled with their quarterback play. I'll take Memphis
Oh.
plus the 6.5 going on there to Tallahassee.
I'll bite, he says.
Parks,
bite.
don't.
What?
I know where you're going. Don't do it.
No, I'm
Don't-
doing it because that
don't do
team
it.
sucks and this team is good. Give me North Texas plus the 10
Oh,
on the road at Texas Tech. Texas
What
Tech
you-
looks awful.
was not where I thought you were going.
Where do you
I'm
think
sorry.
I was going?
I thought you were taking Colorado State plus a 7.5.
Oh, no,
against
God.
Colorado.
Keep me
I-
a
I
9
want to hear
billion light
Reese's
years.
stuff, Laura, because this is like Reese bid on the movement, the fast movement, and
Yeah.
I don't like.
Well, no,
it.
I'm doing that because I was going to take Texas, but because of our putting our picks in the document, now I have to go to an alternate. So I have Memphis.
All right.
I have stats to back up Parksy's pick.
Yeah, well, tell me,
I had
Reese.
stats for
Tell
that.
the people. Tell the people, Reese. Tell them
Chandler
about
Morris
Chandler
got
Morris.
737 yards so far in the air. His
You
top
bet he
three
does.
receivers got 13 catches each. Ward's
Yes,
got
they do.
250 yards with 2 touchdowns. Sheffield's got
Mhm.
148 yards with 3 touchdowns. Texas Tech gave up 51 to Abilene Christian and 37 on the road last week in Pullman.
Yes, and got handled in Pullman. I didn't
Points.
really see a lot from their offense. I think Texas Tech is going to put up some points in this game, but I haven't seen him stop a runny nose. I haven't, and there's a lot of offensive weapons here on the North Texas side
I
of
thought we
things.
could recruit, man.
Yeah, well, he
Get him
ain't
moving.
doing it down there. I think a shock to me is Demaja Harris for North Texas has been really good early in the year. I think they can run it. I think they can throw it, and Chandler Morris can run it too. This is a Power 4 quarterback transfer from TCU, so give me North Texas on the road to win that son of a bitch outright. Screw the 10. You'll get the 10. They're going to win the game. So give me the mean green.
I didn't clarify. I had UTEP Miners money line. I don't need the
Stop.
23.
No. You please tell me. That's a donation.
You better watch
pass the
Glory
hat.
Road.
Pass the hat.
Better watch
Glory
Glory Road
Road.
tonight.
No
Yeah.
shit. I will. That's a good one. Yep. They just need to play that in the locker room.
One of the
and then
best.
They're going to be going.
All
They'll
right.
get
That's
going.
Dog's Dog for week 3. Let's move on to our final segment, and that is our pick of the week. Let's let Jake ride hot on his UTEP Miners pick and see if he's got a good one in the stash.
Well, I would give this out for the people, but you can't get the line that I had anymore. But I do have Arkansas minus 21. It's now at like 24, 25
Are you sharp?
against UAB. Pretty much. Yeah. I can kind of read everybody at this point. That's a really, really bad UAB team. But my actual pick will be, I'm just going to go West Virginia. I think I picked something we covered last week too. I don't remember. I think it was Tennessee. I'm going same thing here. I really feel high on West Virginia just getting it done on the road this weekend.
All right, JP, give us yours.
I have a 1A and a 1B. I'm just kidding. I'll just take one. But I do want to talk about the second one because we brought it up before the show started. I'll take UGA minus the 24 against Kentucky.
Okay.
We're going to look that rough against South Carolina, and now we got to bring the dogs to town who
Yeah,
are
I
known
couldn't
for
believe that
not-
was 24.
Yeah,
Just because of home field, right?
I just think there's a talent gap here. And if Vandergrift's going to play his old team now after looking that rough, like there's just things that Kirby's going to be able to do with back in that team. And hey, SEC opener, let's roll. Like I feel like Georgia's going to be ready to go, and Kentucky's going to be real in a little bit. So I'll take Georgia minus the 24.
All right, I'll go next. I'm going to take Ole Miss minus the 22.5 on the road at Wake Forest. Hank Bachmeier is playing quarterback at Wake Forest, and they are trying to make this dude throw 40 times a game. I think Ole Miss is way too talented on the defensive side of the ball now. I think they cover this number and roll easily against Wake Forest. Reese.
That was my 1B, Parks. I like that pick a lot. I'm going to double down on a best bet. You want to talk about a team that's playing a really, really bad football team? How about Tennessee minus 49.5 playing Kent State this week? Not to mention you can take their team total over of 56.5 at plus 105. I'm taking both of those.
Reese, let me give you some advice. I took Georgia minus I think it was 54 last week against Tennessee Tech.
Yeah.
And Georgia was on pace. The live line got up to like 62.5. Reese, that was the fastest second half I've ever seen in my life. I literally looked over and the game was over. Just these games, they go by so fast.
Do you know who Kent State lost to last week?
I do. Yeah, St. Francis. Yes.
The St. Francis Red Flash.
Let's say another flash.
They only scored 17 points. I don't care. You got Nico and Samson who are running the ball for.
Nico will be out by the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, that's my worry.
Doesn't matter. Kent State is that bad. You know who Kent State plays next week too, by the way?
On the road at Penn State.
Penn State.
And there's a chance I heard that could be the whiteout game because it's like one of their only opportunities as a night game.
No shot.
I swear to God, they were complaining about it. I saw that somewhere. I believe it was about that too. Yeah, where like all their Big Ten games, like none of them lined up to be night games, and so they only have a couple of options, and they're both terrible.
You can't waste it on Kent State. You just can't.
Well, I mean, a guaranteed win.
You do a day game, like you don't do it when Kent State comes to town.
That would be sick.
Other thing for my point too, though, Shafe, is they held. I mean, not saying NC State's a powerhouse of an offense, but they held them to 10 points last week. That Tennessee defense
they held them. Reese, they held them to 3 because
three. Yeah, that was a pick 6. You're right. That Nico got the arm hit. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, like
add this point.
You think they're gonna give? You think they're gonna give up any? They're gonna give more than 10 to Kent State. I think they're gonna get.
So wait, I'm sorry. Do you have the team over, or you just have the spread?
Team over and spread.
Yeah,
little parlay, little teaser.
57 nothing would be perfect. 57 nothing. Reese, that's all we're looking for out there. But all right, that is best bets of the weekend. JP had one more he wanted to touch on. What was that?
Someone tell me not to take Indiana.
I've been
don't buy in
hardcore.
He's buying into the worst college football team in the history of ever, and Indiana.
Rourke has looked really good. Like Indiana's
really
looked competent on offensively. The defense hasn't been bad. UCLA does not look good. We knew they weren't going to be very good. That's into a battle on the island, and we're going to call you a Big Ten football team.
3.5.
Just can't.
They should have lost.
73 on the Leathernecks. Put up 73.
You know what this tells me?
That team is so bad.
This is a touchdown favorite team if this is in Bloomington.
There's a chance Arkansas Pine Bluff's a 2-touchdown favorite against Western Illinois. I'm just throwing that out there.
A tough one. I about took it.
Here's the deal, JP. I love the pick. I've been staring at it all week. But I am on too many games this week where I just don't feel great. Like now that you guys were all going unanimous on all these picks, I just don't like my odds this week. So that being
Shut up, Jake. The kid has 2 good weeks, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I picked the same as the guys I do the show with."
Well, I just don't. I don't want to go. I don't want guys. We can't all do this together. We're all people.
We can't. Ride or die.
We can't. It's our own show. We can do whatever we want.
People are gonna peg us on Twitter. They're gonna let us know.
We're gonna
Whoa! You say
we
that
just went from
live?
High School Musical to like Rated X and kicked off Twitter.
We just
So
got kicked
congrats,
off.
Jake.
Nobody's doing that to me.
They're gonna I don't know. I don't know what other word to substitute that.
We definitely just
got
kicked off Facebook after Jake's comment. We were talking High School Musical. Now we're not.
I said what I said.
Man, that is a rough look to end the show.
Shout out to the Bobcats. If you're watching this tomorrow night, Thursday night, big game in San Marcos. Huge win last week. I mean, they're
I don't think we threw this one up there yet, but this is a good point. Jake was a little cocky tonight. 2 good weeks, and the kid's on top of the world. I actually remember a few years ago, the kid almost quit betting football.
I am not bragging about taking the 12. I let you guys know 8:30 Monday morning. I was telling you guys. I texted the group chat. I didn't keep it to myself.
Hey,
I was
I'm
trying to
stunned
get
you
everybody.
didn't take Texas State.
There's nothing. I mean,
Who says I haven't yet?
I was saying it as your dog because they're +1 now.
Oh,
I did hear
wow.
Jake take Texas Tech yesterday as well on the Big 12 show, which is streaming now, by the way.
I
Check it
said,
out.
yeah, go check it out. Sorry.
No, I'm not going to plug this show anymore. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, check it out. I said I picked them to win. I didn't specify if they're gonna cover or not. I don't pick.
They're not going to cover. They're not going to win either. They're not going to. Sorry, the Mean Green dropped the helmets today. That program's up and up, baby. But all right, seriously, go check out Somewhere in the Middle, streaming now on our YouTube channel. That's our Big 12 football show. Jake started. Good content there. Also, check out our fan perspectives, now streaming live. JP did a Troy preview for Iowa. I cover UNI, which is a greasy little job to do to try and find UNI information and highlights throughout the year.
Northern Iowa Panthers.
UNI, yeah. Please don't do the Northern Illinois this week. Yeah. Please don't do that.
UNI used to give the boys in state a lot of trouble. I don't know if they'll give the same to the Lincoln.
They won't.
They don't know them as well.
Yeah.
UNI got absolutely, I think it was 2 years ago, they just got crushed by Air Force. Like, I see the exact same thing happening. Also, pretty sure UNI has to go to Hawaii next week.
They do, and then they follow up opening up with South Dakota State on the road trip.
Cedar Falls,
shout out
Hawaii, baby.
If we're talking all levels of college football, shout out to the Pioneer League Drake Bulldogs as 33-point
underdog
going into Eastern Washington and winning it on the red turf. I got that one on ESPN Plus last week. I was like, no shit, because usually, I mean, non-scholarship football, we're going and playing one of the big boys in the FCS. Hey,
that was Eastern Washington's bye game, and they lost.
Yeah, it was. It's great.
Yeah. Tough spot for Cooper Kupp's alumni school. But all right, that is the week 3 preview. Check out all those fan perspectives streaming now, as well as Jake's Big 12 show. We will see you on Sunday morning for the week 3 recap. We appreciate you being here. Shop No Rivals. What should they do to the channel, Reese?
Like, comment, subscribe, hit the follow button, get everybody to hit it too.
The code for No Rivals, JP, is
PTFS.
Jake, close us out and take us away.
Someday I'm going to get this fucking mic to work, but we got to play it.